Meet the cheapest versions of the new Volkswagen Amarok range, the Core and the Life. While these model names may sound a bit soft for a workhorse vehicle, there are key differences with these heavy-duty models. In this video, we will go through price, features, tell you what they're like to drive, and we'll also cover off which one we'd choose given the price difference. We'll also see how they compare to the similarly priced models in the Ford Ranger and Toyota Hilux lineups. Let's take a closer look. The two cheapest models in the new Volkswagen Amarok Ute range, Core and Life, have joined the rest of the lineup in Australia a month after a trio of top-end models arrived in local showrooms. Although these two are the base models, they are anything but basic. Both of these Volkswagen Amarok variants are, for the most part, better equipped than the equivalent models in the Toyota Hilux and Ford Ranger lineups. As previously reported, the new generation Volkswagen Amarok shares its DNA with the latest Ford Ranger as part of a joint venture between the two automotive giants on certain model lines. Had Volkswagen not partnered with Ford, executives for the German marque conceded there would not have been a second generation Amarok, given the high cost of developing an all-new vehicle for what amounts to a niche model for the European automaker. The core structure, such as the underbody and chassis, and mechanicals, such as the engines and transmissions, are designed and engineered by Ford. And the Volkswagen Amarok is made in a Ford factory in South Africa, while Ford Rangers sold in Australia are made in a Ford factory in Thailand. However, Volkswagen has made significant changes to the design inside and out after a contingent of designers and engineers spent close to 4 years in Australia alongside Ford development teams, although they were separated by partitions so neither side could look over each other's homework. The Core starts from $52,990 plus on-road costs, while the Life is $56,990. All told, there are currently 5 model grades, ranging from the Core in the low $50,000 range to the Aventura just a tick over $80,000. We tested the Core and Life variants while attending a one-day media preview drive in Melbourne as a guest of Volkswagen. As such, this is not an extensive test on our turf, but it does provide us with an insight into these two important models. The new Amarok is bigger than before in every dimension except one: cabin width. There is less shoulder-to-shoulder room in the new Amarok compared to the original model because the Ford Ranger cabin, which set the parameters, is narrower. Headroom and shoulder room, front and rear, are par for the class. Identical to the Ford Ranger, similar to the Toyota Hilux, and a touch roomier than the Isuzu D-Max and Mazda BT50. The door pockets are huge by Ute standards and can also accommodate large drink bottles. The horizontal door levers inside the door pulls are carried over from the Ford, but apart from this, there are a few similarities. The steering wheel, with physical buttons rather than swipe tabs used on the latest Volkswagen passenger cars, are also unique to the Amarok. The centre console and glove box capacities are above average for the Ute class, and the Amarok Life gains fabric on the elbow pads on the doors and on the centre console lid. All models in the new Amarok range have a 5-star ANCAP safety rating, and occupants receive the same level of protection in a severe crash regardless of which model they choose. And most variants in the range come with the works when it comes to crash avoidance technology. And kudos to Volkswagen for equipping even its cheapest Amarok models with tyre pressure monitors, front and rear parking sensors, and bi-LED headlights in a price point dominated by milky and weak halogen lights. But alas, there is one glaring safety omission. As previously reported, the base model Amarok Core lacks blind zone warning and rear cross traffic alert, which is standard on even the cheapest Isuzu D-Max and Ford Ranger Utes. At a glance, both these cars look the same. They have the same alloy wheels, the same LED headlights, the same front tow hooks and front parking sensors, but there are key differences under the bonnet and inside the cabin. While the base model Core has a single turbo 2-litre 4-cylinder diesel engine paired to a 6-speed automatic, the next model up, the Life, comes standard with a twin turbo 2-litre 4-cylinder paired to a 10-speed automatic. Another difference, the Life model comes standard with rear disc brakes. The Core still only comes with rear drums, and for now, as this video was published, the Life has rear cross traffic alert and blind zone warning sensors in the rear bumper, but that's not available on the Core for now. All models in the range come with a factory-fitted tow bar, though the neck and ball are optional extras. One of the things I love about the two new base model Amaroks is the selection of tyre. This is a highway terrain Continental with plenty of cushion, which really helps smooth out the bumps. Now, a lot of people watching might be saying, well, you can't wait to go to the tyre shop and get rid of those. I would strongly advise against it. These have great wet weather braking, great on-road holding, and as we discovered today, they can also handle a wet, muddy track. Other subtle differences between the Core and the Life model: the Life comes with colour-coded side mirrors, colour-coded door handles, privacy glass, and puddle lamps under each mirror. Both base models in the Amarok range get factory-fitted side steps, whereas most rivals don't put side steps on their vehicles until they climb further up the range. The interior of the Core and Life models look quite similar, but in fact, there are some key differences. We now have a leather steering wheel instead of a rubber wheel in the Core. We've got fabric tops on the center console and on the elbow pads on the doors. And we also have an electronic gear shifter, electronic park brake, and both models come with wireless car charging as well as USB-A and USB-C charging ports. Both models have a digital widescreen display, though not quite as big as the super wide screen in the top models. Another interesting thing to note, while Volkswagen could have had indicator stalks on the right-hand side, they've elected to stick with the rest of their European range, and the indicator stalk is on the left. Thankfully, in an era of touchscreens, Volkswagen has retained a physical volume knob, which is really helpful on bumpy roads. However, one of the downsides with the Amarok compared to the Ranger, there are no physical air conditioning controls. You must touch the touchscreen, access the climate control menu there to change fan speed and temperature. But overall, the Core and Life don't feel like base models. There's good quality fabrics, strong padding in the seats, there's a nice technical grain on the top of the dash and along the top of the doors. We've got 4 auto one-touch express windows on all 4 doors. And another handy feature for personal security, there are illuminated central locking switches inside both front doors. One of the key differences between the new Amarok and the old Amarok, the cabin is a touch narrower than before. That's because the Ford Ranger on which the new Amarok is based has a narrower cabin. But there have been improvements from the old Amarok to the new Amarok. We now have more knee room. The old one was really tight back here. This has a lot more knee room and more headroom. And we finally have rear curtain airbags all the way to the second row. The original Volkswagen Amarok already had one of the biggest trays in the business, but now it's even bigger. According to the tape measure, the bed length is 624 millimeters, the wheel-to-wheel width is 1227 millimeters, and the tub height is 529 millimeters. Time to get behind the wheel. Downsides: the engine's noisy, the suspension can be a bit firm off-road, and hardcore four-wheel drivers will probably want to change the tyres. But I would really advise against that, unless you really need to. These Continental highway terrain tyres really do make the Amarok feel almost like an SUV. They've got good grip in the dry, they've got better braking performance in the wet than all-terrain tyres, and overall they help deliver a much more comfortable experience on-road. So while the new Amarok has Ford Ranger DNA, Volkswagen has injected its own DNA by tuning the suspension and fitting high-quality tyres. The Volkswagen Life, the model we're in now, actually has more standard equipment than the equivalently priced models in the Ford Ranger and Toyota Hilux lineups. The price jump between the Core and the Life really does buy a lot of extra equipment. You get a twin-turbo 2-litre 4-cylinder diesel engine up front instead of the single-turbo 2-litre. We get 4-wheel discs instead of rear drums on the Core. A leather steering wheel, nicer interior appointments. Though it must be said, the seats in both models are super comfortable. The fabric feels hard wearing and there's strong side support in the bolstering. I went into this review thinking the Core was the pick of the two, but I've got to tell you, if the budget stretches that far, the Life is a no-brainer. It also gets more standard equipment than you do in a Ford Ranger or Toyota Hilux at this price point. I really don't think a lot of people would have been expecting that, especially Ford and Toyota. I actually prefer the way the Amarok Life drives to the equivalent base model in the Ford Ranger lineup. The tyres are really supple and they work really well with the light and precise steering. One of the things that annoy me most about the new Amarok, I really hate having to go through the touchscreen to access simple air conditioning controls. If you want to change the temperature, change the fan speed, hit the recirc button, all that has to be done through the touchscreen. Ford is on a winner there because they've made all those functions accessible through physical dials and buttons. While this Amarok is going to be around for 10 years, I'm not sure they're going to spend the money to make that change. But honestly, the air conditioning controls really are the only major bugbear for me in the new Amarok. Volkswagen has actually swept the details. We've got a nicer riding vehicle, especially in the base grade. In fact, it doesn't even feel like a base model. We've got a nice leather steering wheel in the second model up in the range, tyre pressure monitors on every model in the range, standard tow bar fitment on every model in the range, and LED headlights on every model in the range. The two cheapest variants in the Amarok lineup get standard LED low and high beam, and Style and Up get Matrix LED headlights. And yet we look across at the base model Ford Ranger and Toyota Hilux lineups, and they still make do with weak, milky halogen headlights. Ford, Toyota, what are you doing? By the way, if you've made it this far in the review, please hit like if you've enjoyed the video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any future updates. Find out more about cars like this and to help us grow our channel. So, which one would I buy? Between the Core and the Life, if the budget stretches that far, the Life is a no-brainer. It's the pick of the two. It's a great workhorse and, dare I say it, a great family car. Now for the million-dollar question, the Volkswagen Amarok Life or the equivalently priced model in the Ford Ranger lineup. And I've got to say, if it came down to this exact model, at this exact price point, I'm picking the Volkswagen. But I would have to learn how to live with that annoying air conditioning system. And before anyone accuses me of being biased against Ford, I own a Raptor. In fact, there are some models in the Ranger lineup that do make better sense. But at this price point, in this model grade, the Volkswagen is the pick. I'm sure there are some viewers who want to add tyre poke and jack the suspension up 4 inches. What are you doing here? You're on the wrong YouTube channel. This is for sensible people who want a turnkey solution. In terms of performance, the twin-turbo 2-litre diesel is more perky than the single-turbo. The single-turbo is also a touch noisier. But I do like the way the 6-speed shifts more smoothly, more predictably. The 10-speed auto still does tend to hunt around a bit. So, some room for improvement then. But I've got to say, it's pretty good straight out of the box. To read the full review of the Amarok Core and Life, go to Drive.com.au. Please hit like if you've enjoyed this video, and there are detailed reviews of other models in the Amarok range on our website and on our YouTube channel.